go to you to ask questions, clarifications, or make any suggestions. Professor Sudatta Ranasinghe in his address talked about issues pertaining to sustainable development, what Sri Lanka has been able to reach in terms of MDGs, and in our own way, through the Mahinda Chintana, how we have been able to, for 2 consecutive years, there have been unprecedented growth. At 8%, we never had it in our history. For 2 consecutive years at 8% is a remarkable thing, particularly given the fact that infrastructure has been destroyed. For 30 years, there hasn't been any development. There is no strategic plan. No government could have a kind of a firm view of what exactly to do because of the uncertainties involved. And he looked upon reconciliation as a social process, undoubtedly. This is where I think all of us need to be aware of the ways the communities think, what should be done to bring communities together. It was also a question of how much can you do to ensure that stakeholders and their expectations are fulfilled. I think that's the test of a government. To what extent can you fulfill their expectations? Each of us has various expectations. Communities have their own expectations. And after a conflict, these expectations become totally distorted because you come from a very bad state to a state where it's a kind of a dream. So I think he dealt with the management of these perceptions. And from that point onwards, we had Professor J.B. Dissanayake talking about the language initiative with the government. He's a member of the Presidential Task Force. What language can do to bring the communities together? Undoubtedly, this is one of the most important thing. A sentence sir, you made is very important. Language is the only factor that distinguishes beast from man. And I think language is also, right now, a factor that can bring harmony and reconciliation in Sri Lanka. And that is why the government is so keen to work on this, to see by 2021, 2022, that Sri Lanka's, at least the majority of the population, will be comfortable in using the 3 languages. Experts will tell us to what extent we can do this and how to do it, what kind of emphasis should be given to spoken component or the written component or the reading component. So these are things that we will leave to experts. But I think the point that Professor J.B. Dissanayake brought forth was that we need to be looking at it as a serious issue. And also explain in depth what the Presidential Task Force has done so far. Dr. Jayaratna, Sunil Jayanta Navaratna spoke about a strategic approach. Not particularly about reconciliation or whatever, but general principles of thinking differently. I think we need to think out of the box. Been thinking in certain ways, we are conditioned to think in one way because of, maybe because of a war. 30-year war is not a simple thing. And if people expect the government to deliver within a matter of 3 years, I believe it's unfair. You need to give time and space. That is what exactly Sri Lanka asked for when this Geneva resolution was passed. All what the government asked for was give us time and space. 30 years as against 3 years. That's the equation. So looking at it strategically, how do we bring communities together? The mistakes that we have done to understand. If you look at the mandate of the LLRC, which the President appointed, when the President appointed the LLRC and gave a mandate to them, it was very clear. Look at the past and look to the future. Look where we went wrong. What were the issues that made this country come into this position? And what shouldn't we be doing? And what should we do so that these things will not recur? So these are very important aspects at a seminar like this. I understand that 15 minutes is not enough to deal with these subjects. They're very complex issues, subjects that cut across governments vertically and horizontally. But I think it's important that at least certain highlights are given. Professor Rajiva Vijayasinghe, in working with communities, in trying to bridge communities, bring them together, through language, through education. I know one of his pet subjects is education, so is mine. We've been working on these things together. He pointed out that the LTTE discouraged Tamils to join the armed forces, the police. Now let me tell you, as a member of the SLAs, I find it extremely difficult to find secretaries today who are Tamils, who are Tamil speaking. There are enough and more divisional secretariats in the north and the east where we can't post senior Tamil officers. There are positions where Tamil officers are extremely important, but I can't find someone who is, say, 15 years senior or maybe 20 years senior of a class 1 who can take decisions, strategic decisions, because there has been a gap. When you don't recruit, not that the government didn't want, these children did not, they were not allowed to appear for the SLAs. I can say that with a lot of responsibility. Language skills today is undoubtedly the need of the hour, so said Professor Dissanayake. To be able to maybe work seamlessly, translation skills. This is a very interesting government because Sri Lanka has always said this. Any document that we produce, we have to produce in 3 languages. Just imagine the LLRC report, which runs into 800 odd pages, the 2 volumes, 400 in one, the other annexes and another 400. 800 pages to be translated in the spirit in which the community, the commission has drafted it. That is the difficult thing. You can't just ask a translator, okay, translate this into Sinhala or Tamil. It has to be in the same spirit in which this was written. This was written in English. So, language skills are extremely important. Translation skills. Every document that goes to cabinet has to be in all 3 languages. We have Honorable Vasudeva Nanayakkara, Minister for Languages and Social Integration, who would insist that no cabinet paper should be discussed at the cabinet if it is not in all 3 languages. A lot of cabinet papers come in the English language because it is easy to compile. Maybe officers are maybe conversant in doing it, technical terms, but yet he insists that for discussion among the ministers that it should be in all 3 languages. Maybe the only country that this kind of thing is being done. Education innovation is so important. He talked about the post-secondary, non-university tertiary education, how opportunities are not being fully utilized. Are we preparing young people for the markets? There are opportunities. How do we bring the young people into those opportunities? Well equipped, honed with skills. Intercommunity interaction is another. Many years ago, maybe 10 years back, you wouldn't think of a Sinhalese in the deep south traveling to the north because you couldn't go. Simply because if you are found out to be a Sinhalese, you probably might face a huge issue. Vice versa. So, this is important. Today, absolutely no barrier in people traveling around. I'm so glad to see the southerners going to the north, the northerners coming to the south without any issue. No questions asked, no barriers. And those who come to Sri Lanka today are so happy to see Colombo free of barriers, free of any hurdles to move around. Today, Colombo is becoming an extremely livable city. Once again, thanks to the man who was instrumental in doing most of the things for Sri Lanka, Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa. In 2010, when he told me, well, you know, now my job is over. I have done what I have to do by this country. Sri Lanka is free of terrorism. Don't you think I should hang up my boots? I thought it would have been an absolute disaster if Gota were to leave the public service. So I told him, isn't there anything else that you can do? Well, there was a kind of, I still remember this moment. He had great delight when he told me, and I could see in his eyes, well, I might try my hand at urban development. And that is how urban development ended up with Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa as a subject attached to the Ministry of Defence. I think this is the only country in the world where the Ministry of Defence is dealing with urban development. And I think that's a model. It's a fantastic model. Because there he saw how, at least he showed the world, how an army which fought terrorists could be transformed into an army which can develop the country. to be great stakeholders in development. You give them a job and they'll do it to the letter. Let me also, as many speakers said, I have great respect and I pay a tribute wherever I go to the skills displayed by the armed forces, whether it is management. And let me also tell you, when the Nelumpukuna Mahinda Rajapaksa Performing Arts Theatre was gifted by the government of China to government of Sri Lanka and was placed in charge of the presidential secretariat, I was so horrified, to tell you the truth, because I simply could not find people to manage it. I didn't know how to recruit people, because you don't have that kind of people to manage performing arts theatres in Sri Lanka. They're first of its kind, highly technical, is a gift. Came to the rescue once again Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa. And when I told him, look, I think the armed forces can manage this for us. Can you lend me a few people? He was so kind enough to give me his own personal security officer, the colonel, who has done great service during the last 8 months, managing it extremely well. I just can't think of a better way of managing that place. The artists have commended. When it was handed over to the armed forces, the artists protested with the president. And how can the armed forces, these fellows are rough and shoddy guys. They don't know the fine art of dealing with the artists. Please don't give it to the armed forces. But the president insisted and said, let me tell you that they will manage this for you. And at a public audience, public performance, one of the key persons in the art scene in Sri Lanka comes to the stage after the performance and says, I'm so sorry for what I have said in the presence of the president. This is the best managed theatre in which there are over 1,000 performances that we have done all over Sri Lanka. This is the best performance we have been able to make. That is the credit that I would like to give to the armed forces. Management, they were so gentle, they were so professional, they were so refined. So I think all in all, when you talk about it, here is an army which did so many things. Today, they are able to participate in development activities in Sri Lanka. So put together, the session brought out very interesting perspectives from different angles, from language to education to strategic management to leadership to management, all sorts of things. But I think it's a subject which needs in-depth analysis. I think in years to come, we will be talking about it. How did you do it? What are we doing? And this is a time Sri Lanka is transforming at great speed to make it a hub in the 5 areas that the Mahinda Chintan has articulated. Naval and maritime hub, knowledge hub, commercial hub, as well as power and energy hub. So these are the 5 hubs that we are talking about. So I think the contribution that the armed forces would make alongside the civilian government is extremely important to take note of. Let me thank the 4 speakers who dealt with this subject in the best way possible given the time constraint. But I think it's time for me to ask the audience to respond. Let me say we have 30 minutes. Maybe we could stop around 5:10. Any clarifications you want to seek? Any additions you want to make? My only humble suggestion to you is that make brief comments or suggestions so that a lot of people can participate in the discussion and something can be developed. I often see in seminars participants try to outdo the speakers, so please don't do that. You have listened to the speakers. I'm sure that you could make interventions. Over to you. Thank you.
So I'm Brigadier Arun Jayasekara. Thank you very much of giving this opportunity. So we have had a very lengthy discussions and intellectual speeches of the sustainable development through reconciliation, and also what I see is the sustainable development is not only the infrastructure development like services, and also the development of the education, as the Professor Ranasinghe you brought about, is not only the infrastructure development, it is the social development as well. So now